This last video is going to look at other variations of different kinds of activities that we can do in a phonics lesson that aren't necessarily fitting into any of the categories I've talked about before. So we looked at some of the main functions that we're trying to teach. We're trying to teach students to link and build associations. So we talked about activities that we can do that can do that. We want to teach them to differentiate. So we looked at activities related to sorting and things like that. And we talked about blending and activities that we can do that can help students learn to blend. But of course there's a lot of other things that we do in lessons which don't necessarily fit into any of these functions that are still valid. A lot of them involve throwing. So I'm going to talk about a few of those now. Now I'm a little bit boring in a lot of my phonics lessons. I don't use many of these games, but many teachers do. So yeah, we'll talk a little bit about some of these ideas now. So first of all, I want to talk about ball throwing games. There are a lot of variations on these, but I'll give you a few of them here. Now, of course, ball throwing is good because it's fun, it's a little bit anarchic, and children love to throw things around. One of the popular ball games that we can play is useful often as a final activity. It's also useful early on in the lesson when you want to get students speaking and using English. So it's less about phonics and learning to read, it's about encouraging expression, creativity, and joining in the class. And that's the castle game. Now, a castle game is simply a case where you draw a castle and the elements in the castle are provided by the students in the class. So what should we have in our castle today? Okay, let's have a cat. Okay, so we draw a castle here. You have to excuse my bad drawing. So we've got a cat. It's meant to be a tail, but it looks like it's waving. Never mind. It's a waving cat. We want to have, I don't know, a dinosaur. Someone wanting a big dinosaur. Again, there we go, my awful dinosaur. They may want to have, I don't know. We've had a cat. Let's have a rubbish bin. And so on. So you get ideas from the students in the class, and then they take it in turns to throw the ball, and then whatever you hit, that is a broken part of the castle. So, you broke that bit of the castle, so then we'd rub that out with the board rubber, like that. And of course they then need to destroy the castle and smash up all of the things that they've decided to put in. The benefit is in terms of the initial talk and the initial engagement. You know, its educational value does not come from what puts on the board, it's the preparation of the game that has value in one of our lessons. So very good at the beginning of a lesson, very good at the end, not so suitable in the middle. Another kind of throwing game that we have that teachers like to use would be where instead of having a castle, we put words on the board, and we can even use the flashcards for this. I'm not going to put the flashcards up now, but let's say we have and then you can put points in or something like this. There's lots of variations you can do on this, but the essential idea here would be, instead of throwing it and the students destroying the castle and the benefit coming in the build up to the game as a generative device, here the benefit comes from once they've thrown it, they have to read the word. So it turns into a blending game or a reading game. And this can be quite useful, because if you give it points, for example, if you look on here, I've got varying degrees of difficulty. I mean, we've got CAPS, a pretty basic CVC. SHOP is another basic CVC. And for those who've been doing phonics friends, hopefully this digraph isn't too confusing, but it is slightly harder than CAP. King has another CVC with a difficult digraph at the end. And Wood arguably has the hardest digraph of the ones on here. You have the vowel, which you probably wouldn't be looking at until the early application level. But yeah, nonetheless, so we could give each one of these a different number of points. So you could have 5 points, 10 points, 15 and 20. And of course here everyone's going to be aiming, all of the students are going to be trying to read the more challenging words to get the most out of the game. They want to win, they want to get more points. So this kind of throwing game is very, very useful. It's a kind of reading game and blending game as well. But it's good if you want to try and encourage your students to stretch and push themselves a little bit more. Most of them aren't going to go for the low points, they're going to try and read the harder points up on here. So that's another good throwing game. And you can divide the throwing games up into those two types really. One's where the benefit comes in the build-up to the game, where it's all about getting communication going and getting to use vocabulary and to stretch, do a lot of speaking stuff. And then there's ones where what you put on the board has a direct link to what you want them to learn in the class. Another one, which again, I'm not a singy teacher, but another one that has been shown to me would be ones where you let the students make their own words. This is not a throwing game, but it's a deletion game in the same way that the first throwing game was. Instead of having the bingo as in the song, there was a dog, bingo was his name, oh. Instead of having this song with B-I-N-G-O, you let the students choose their own letters to fill in this this word. So instead of B-I-N-G-O, we might have S-H-O-P-N. And so instead of this, you read, there was a dog, and Chopin was his name, O-S-H-O-P-N, and so on and so on and so on. And get the students to sing along. And then as you delete letters, you end up with the word changing, and I'm having to read this word with different elements of it being changed. And of course you can do various things with this. You can make it so that you want them to be consistent where the vowels stay, or you could do it so that you have it so that the vowels don't fit, and that can be beneficial in teaching them that we need to have vowels in certain places. So yeah, and that's another variation of other kinds of games that can be used. So in this video we talked about using ball games, and we've talked about the bingo game. There are countless others that you could use, and perhaps if teachers get back to me, I can do a video bringing in a few more of those in the future. So anyway, that's it. We'll finish up on that then with the main function based games.